Good day to all of you. Welcome to the world of human resource management. I'm Dr. Praveen Kumar, the Dean of School of Commerce and Management, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. In today's lecture, we're going to talk about some of the best HR practices adopted world over, especially with respect to India as well. For this, we have collected inputs, the research findings from various journals such as Business World and Business Today and the Fortune and Forbes. So this presentation is based on those inputs. Before we actually dive into the topics, how were people looked at? How were the employees looked at? A quote from Henry Ford says, "Why, when I only want to hire a pair of hands, do I get a whole person?" Look at the way an entrepreneur who created a revolution in the motor car industry looks at employees, looks at his own workers. Why, when I want to hire a pair of hands, do I get a whole person? I just want a pair of hands. Fortunately, the thinking evolved. During behavioral scientists, we have people like Elton Mayo, who conducted the Hawthorne experiments, say paying attention to people pays. At least for that, pay attention to your people, your employees, your workers. And so they were shift off this mindset from why do I need a whole person when I just want a pair of hands to paying attention to people pays. John F. Kennedy summarizes what I'm trying to tell all of you. The human mind is a fundamental resource. It is not the machines, it is not the finance, it is not the infrastructure. The human mind is the fundamental resource. And therefore, we need to create a great workplace for this human mind to function with its full potential, to unleash its full potential. One of the co-founders of Sony, Akio Morita. Look what Akio Morita has to say. He's written a beautiful book called Made in Japan. This is a quote from that book. "I emphasize this. No matter how good or successful you are, or how clever or crafty, your business and its future are in the hands of people you hire." Look how beautiful. So it is not in the strategy, it is not in the careful, crafty planning and strategy, it is in the hands of people you hire. You need to hire the right type of people and keep them happy. Those people will take care of everything else. Our own Narayana Murthy, the co-founder of Infosys, says, "You must treat your employees with respect and dignity, because in the most automated factory in the world, you need the power of human mind. That is what brings in innovation. If you want high quality minds to work for you, then you must protect the respect and dignity." Even a recent Market research done at Harvard Business Review says the most productive people, the most loyal people who work for a company are those who think that they are respected and treated with dignity. This is what Narayana Murthy also had to say. You must treat your people with respect and dignity. You don't lose anything. And Narayana Murthy is the one who said, my assets become zero when all my employees leave the gate, my company's gate after their work. And once again, I become very rich when they come back and report to work the next day. This is the value that you need to attribute to your employees. Sum and substance, human beings handle with care. This fundamental resource is going to decide whether your company is going to sustain, make profits, or close down and incur losses. Therefore, human beings handle with care. Sun Tzu, the Chinese general, would say, war is about life and death. You cannot take things for granted in a war because it is about life and death. Likewise, a company is about making profits or losses. It is about sustaining or closing down. And for this, you need human beings who will decide the future of a company. Look at Google. At Google, which is one of the best employers, even the Great Places to Work survey oftentimes puts Google at the top. It is because of their people practices. They have a rule called 70:20:10, where 70% of the time you work for the company, the job that you're supposed to do. 20% of the time when you work within your workspace, you work on your own pet project, and 10% of the time you work for some socially relevant or responsible work. Do something that is in a way that you give back to the society. Even their most formal meetings happen in restaurants called Thank God It's Friday, TGIF. The menus is gourmet menu. It is because your employees are so precious to you. With regard to training, a minimum of 120 hours of training every year for each employee. That is the importance that they give for training. Infosys, our own company based in India, has its own TV called the Infi TV, and it has its own social networking site which is called Infi Bubble. Infosys also conducts town hall meetings where at least two senior most executives need to be present to listen to the employees, to their grievances and suggestions. And Infosys boasts of the largest training center in the world, which is spread across 360 acres in Mysuru. At any given point of time, around 8,000 people can be trained at Infosys. With regard to Microsoft India, they even experimented with having control switches wherein your systems would be turned off if it is beyond your work hours, because Microsoft says now this is the time where you need to be with your family. Work-life integration is very important, and therefore it is time that you stop your work and spend time with your family. And Microsoft is one company which gives a lot of importance to passion quotient. Hire people for their passion, not for a specific job. You can always upskill them, but you will have to hire people with the right attitude. And because most of their employees are very young, the office premises, the office buildings at Infosys, in fact, replicate an extended college campus. They also have a mentoring system, which they call it buddy system, where a person who's just 2 levels higher than you is your buddy. Because a person who's just 2 levels higher than you understands you much better. At Marriott hotels, you have software alerts to avail your off days. In a month, you have one casual leave, which is your off day. And you cannot accumulate that because you need to spend time with your family. Again, work-life integration. So if you have not availed your monthly off day, they keep reminding you with software alerts. Marriott is one company with a lot of gamification that is involved. When you accumulate certain number of points, you can bring your family and stay at your workplace. This is not just exclusive for the very important customers. Your family is also equally important. So you can come and stay with your family and enjoy the luxuries that Marriott has to offer you. Barbecue Nation, I'm sure some of you would have visited Barbecue Nation. I'm sure you would have noticed the happiness in people who serve food to you. It is because when they hire people, the HR and the operations team visit the villages of their hires and orient their families. Some of them would have never visited a posh hotel, a restaurant like Barbecue Nation. So the parents and relatives are first oriented about the nature of the job, the facilities that will be provided, the safety of their sons or daughters. All this is explained by the HR and operations team by visiting their villages. Look at the importance that they give to their employees. At Intuit, they educate a girl child for every woman employee who is hired by them. Look how beautiful. There's also this corporate social responsibility that comes to the fore. And during the COVID pandemic season, in order to ensure that their employees are staying fit, they conducted virtual walkathons, wherein you need to walk, and for every 15,000 steps that you make while walking within your house, you send it to them. They'll send you a geotagged picture of a tree that is planted on behalf of you. So every employee was very motivated because they were doing something noble of helping a tree to be planted. And by the way, they also stayed fit. Look how creative these companies are. At Mahindra Insurance, the induction happens using the Gurukul system, wherein there will be small teams that will be divided and they'll be trained at different locations rather than all being hoarded up in one huge hall. They believe in personalized, customized, team building type of induction, which is again very creative. At Godrej, they give you a summer internship. They call it Live Out Your Dream. It is a sort of competition that is conducted. They have gamified the way they recruit their interns, and those who win are given the summer internship along with a cash prize of 1.5 lakhs. At Cisco, they have this project called Project Athena, where the female alumni employees are rehired. All of us know that women break from work due to various reasons, especially maternity. And by the time the child grows up and goes back to school, it becomes difficult for them to come and join back because they'd lost 2-3 years by then. At Cisco, they hire you, rehire you, and upskill you. In fact, during the COVID season 2020, they deployed medical professionals who will allay the fears of COVID because it was totally new. So you can call them and talk to them. Oftentimes people are worried whether they actually got it in them. So the medical professionals would say what were the symptoms, what you need to do, and things like that, especially during the onset of COVID-19, March 2020. And they gave them a lot of off days. They called it days for me, so that you can think about yourself. Socrates, the great philosopher, would say, an unexamined life is not worth living. So they gave special days which were called days for me, where you can reflect about you and your future as well. Wonderful thought by Cisco. At Bajaj FinServe, they had video stories covering 3 to 4 employees every month. Now, in that video story, you are the center. You are the hero or the heroine. That is what the company intends to do with you. Make you the center of attraction. You feel so good when you see yourself, your family, your life in those short video stories. It also helps others to understand you even better. At Hilton Hotels, they offer virtual reality training, even for minuscule tasks like how rooms can be cleaned, how do you set up a tray, etc. All of it training offered through virtual reality. At Indus Towers, you have these fun Fridays wherein you also bring in your family and participate in these events along with your family. Events like Antakshari, Bingo, Karaoke, all these were included. So that, especially during this pandemic times, you stay connected and your family also is kept engaged. Companies today have understood it is not just the employees, it is the employees' family, which also is important to them. Look how we have evolved from what Ford said, why do I need just a pair of hands? Why do I need a whole person when I just want a pair of hands too? Including the family of the employees. That is the evolution that has happened. At Tech Mahindra, initially they used biometrics, facial analytics, just to mark the attendance. Today, however, they're using this to measure, to gauge the moods of the employees, of how happily they come out and how happily they go out. How many of them come in happily, how many of them go out happily. Based on which they can put appropriate people management practices in place, because you need to keep your employees happy. At Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, employees are allowed to develop drugs, even if those drugs have very less return on investments. Why do they do that? Just to satiate the curiosity of their employees, of their people. So the company doesn't mind even if the return on investment is very insignificant. It allows them to do so because it satiates the interest levels, the curiosity, and feeds the passion of their workforce. At Pure Insurance, they give you $1,500 every year to pursue your own passion, whatever it could be. It could be learning a new skill, enrolling yourself for a sport or in a gym, or to pursue a hobby, learn a new certificate course. It could be anything. But $1,500 apportioned so that you can pursue your passion. Bamboo HR is a very interesting company, wherein if you had committed a mistake, you will have to shoot an email even to the top management explaining about the mistakes that you have done and the corrective action that has been taken, so that everybody is in the know, so that mistakes are acknowledged, because you learn a lot from the mistakes. There are companies which even give you a book called the Book of Errors, where all the mistakes that have been committed so far are documented in that manual and are given to you. And your task is go through that and do some mistake, specifically at least 2 mistakes which are not documented in that manual. You'll have to do something new, some new mistake. And only then you get to sit in your project, else you'll be sitting in the bench. Look how creative these companies are. You tell people, don't do that, they'll do exactly that. There's the whole world. And there was one tree and a fruit which was forbidden. Exactly. Adam and Eve ate that. The Pandora's box is no different. Likewise, you keep telling people don't do this. They are tempted, in fact, to do that. Instead, tell them do that. They find it very difficult. You tell them commit a mistake and report to us, it becomes very difficult. Especially when every mistake is already documented. As times go by, it becomes difficult for people actually to commit a mistake which is already not there in the manual. Motley Fool is a wonderful company. Who said finance companies need to be very serious workplaces? You still can be a fun-loving company. Look at their dress code. Don't wear that which will embarrass your parents. You wear anything, but don't wear that which will embarrass your parents. Unlimited vacation policy. What are they trying to tell us? Theory Y. Treat people from the theory Y perspective, where work is natural to them. You need not tell them. They will act and behave responsibly. So the company does not determine the number of days per vacation. The employee decides it for himself or herself, and in a very responsible fashion. All that the company needs to do is let it go. The employees will behave in a very mature and responsible fashion. That is what employees at Motley Fool have told us. The very onboarding process is called foolination. So everything is fun and you still make unimaginably good profits. So there are several myths that Motley Fool has actually shattered. NTPC have established Apollo Hospital in their townships. Apollo Hospitals is a chain of hospitals which are known for its reputation and popularity in a country like India. And when you establish Apollo Hospitals in the township of the employees, it means the employees are precious to us. That is the writing on the wall. And they send their employees to be trained in National School of Drama. Look how lateral thinking that has been deployed. They have tied up with BITS Pilani for their employees to avail higher education and also continued learning, lifelong learning. At TCS, their recruitment and selection was gamified. They have this called Code Vita, wherein you need to code. And whoever does the right coding gets shortlisted. And a whopping 2 lakh registrations to participate in Code Vita. May 3 is the name that they're given for the annual cultural event that they organize. And the employees come with their families, participate with their families. At HDFC, you have something called the mobile training, the M training, wherein a lot of modules are compressed with 20 minutes flash clips in mobile phones. Because for the sales executives especially, waiting time is very frustrating. So when you wait for your turn to meet someone, in order to just stare at the roof. You need not do that. In order to stop that, they introduced M training, wherein you can silently open your mobile phone and go through the modules. At the end of each module, there'll be a exam, and once you clear the exam, you move on to the next module. Thus, you get trained during your waiting time. So your waiting time is no more frustrating for you. Look how creative a company like HDFC is. At iGate, they tried to break rules and try to do just-in-time hiring when they were hiring their employees. And when you joined the company, they were able to give you a career map that span to 10 to 12 years of time horizon. At Mindtree, it is very inclusive. 23% of the employees are women. Women are allowed to take up to 1 year of leave for every 6 years of service to balance commitments between work and family. This is like your sabbatical for you to hibernate, like the polar bear, which continuously hunts without batting its eyelid to sleep. And when it sleeps continuously, it hibernates, regains a lot of energy and comes back to hunt. Likewise, the employees are allowed to recharge themselves. So 1 year of leave for every 6 years of service to balance commitments between work and family. The company ensures that your work life are well integrated. At HCL, you have something called the Innovation Day, wherein you can showcase your pet projects. They also have a HR CRM for the employees. Who said CRM is only for the external customers? CRM is also important for your internal customers, your employees. There's a book written by Vineet Nair which says employees first, customers second. Meaning, put your employees first, and they in turn will put your customers first. At HSBC, they even teach you salsa classes. Like, let's say a company establishes a gym within its office premises. First month, it is always crowded with people waiting for their turn. All the equipments are full of people. You wait for your turn to hit the treadmill. Another 6 months, it becomes rather empty. And at the end of the year, it is almost practically empty except for the gym caretaker. So they thought, why not we teach them dance? At Johnson & Johnson, you have a helpline for employees who want advice on even personal problems. It's called Mitra. And they also give a lot of importance for your spiritual development. Each employee is given an additional 5 days leave to go to work for an NGO of his or her choice. You can go to an old age home, you can go to an orphanage house, you can go visit people who are physically challenged or mentally challenged or differently able. You can spend your time with them. That is how you nourish your spiritual dimension. At Accenture, it is not just the maternal leave and paternal leave. They also extend adoption leave to you. And they have a beautiful system which is called a leave bank. Let's say you work 2 hours extra today, you will have to write it in a slip of paper and put it in the box, which means you're donating those 2 hours to somebody who might be in a dire need. And somebody who has met with an accident or has to deal with a problem can use those hours that have been donated by the fellow employees. Every employee has a career counselor, and they also allow you to change your career. So it is not always the straight career that need to be pursued. You can have a checkered career while you work for Accenture. At Indian Oil Corporation, for the perks and allowances, they give you a cafeteria approach. It's like a menu card wherein you choose what best fits you rather than the HR deciding on a standardized perks and allowances which may not be relevant or useful to you. At Idea Cellular, they have created an online directory which gives you solution for problems ranging from routine to complex. So any doubt you have, any difficulty you have, all that you need to do is go to the online directory and you get your answers there. Ranbaxy Pharmaceuticals surveys the pay, the average pay that is given to the employees at the global level and keeps it higher than the global average. It is not just the non-monetary benefits alone. The monetary element is also very important, and that is what Ranbaxy has understood. Sapient Technologies, you have a career week where the freshers and newcomers are given counseling by more experienced employees who work there. So they call it career week. It's a time for you to get clarifications or counseling and inputs about the career that you have chosen. Pfizer has tied up with Indian Institute of Ahmedabad and also Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies for executive development and lifelong learning. So what are the key takeaways from these companies which are said to be the best places to work? Put your employees first, because only when you put your employees first, they in turn will put your customers first. Bring them together, make them to work in a team. And it is not just individuals, it is also bringing in their family. Empower, like what Motley Fool had done. They'll decide the number of leave that they want to avail their vacation, and you need not standardize it for them. Give them space to be themselves, to chase their dreams and follow their passion. This summarizes the best practices that are adopted by companies in India and world over. Let's look at what Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, has to say. Train people well enough so they can leave. Treat them well enough so they don't want to. The best companies do exactly that. You remember Google, which has allotted 120 hours of training every year for each of its employees. And they treat them so well with gourmet menu so that they don't want to leave. Take care of your employees and they will take care of your business. It's as simple as that. However, we do not understand these things. They're very, very simple. Paying attention to people pays. Let's look at some of the most valued advice. Says Ashai, who was heading Ashok Leyland and thereafter was also the chairman of Infosys, says, listen to your inner voice. It is not oftentimes logic and rational and scientific outcomes. Don't ignore the intuition, the gut feel, the inner voice. That could be equally powerful as well. Venu Srinivasan, who heads the TVS group of companies, says take risks, but one at a time. In a country like India, we seldom take risks. This gets reflected in the entrepreneurial characteristics. 80% of small business in Europe, or let's say be very specific in UK, is small business. Whereas in India, we do not opt for it en masse. The middle class mindset is to work for a company, get your regular monthly paychecks, and stay safe. Kishore Biani confesses that the Big Bazaar chain of retail outlets was because of watching Saravana stores. The inspiration for this giant retailer comes from Saravana stores. Ideas are all around us. We need to keep our antennas to pick them up. Shankar of the Sanmar Group says ultimately management is common sense. Look how beautiful. Ultimately management is common sense. And Mark Twain beautifully says common sense is not common to all. Thank you all of you. Meet you all in the next lecture.